Hello and welcome to the Winchester Archives Supernatural Podcast. I'm Ed.
I'm Brooke.
And today we'll be discussing Season 1, Episode 18, Something Wicked. But before we do, here's a quick spoiler warning. As always, we'll be connecting dots across the entire series. So if you haven't finished the series yet, or if this is your first time watching it, please keep that in mind. This is a warning. You will be spoiled. And also, before we get going, as always, a content warning. We are adults talking about an adult show that deals with dark and sensitive topics, expect adult language, immature discussion, and dark humor.
I'm laughing because you always trip up on topics. Every that
Yeah,
that one word.
I know. I don't know why. I don't know why that is, but yeah, I'd always like stumble through that a little bit. But you get the
Mhm.
gist, and I know the people like it. Different every time, somewhat way.
True. True, true. This episode aired on April 6th, 2006. It was written by Dan Knopf and directed by Whitney Rancic. And I have the supporting cast down as Colby Paul as Michael and Adrian Hugh as Dr. Heidecker, however they say it in the show.
Either way, I'm sure it's fine. I think it's Heidecker. Like I feel like they say Heidecker in the show, but I could be misremembering.
I don't know. Okay. But anyway,
Either way, the doc.
so the synopsis I have is we are headed to Finberg, Wisconsin, where seemingly nothing supernatural is happening. But Dad sent them coordinates, so something must be happening. Turns out a witch travels from town to town every 10 to 15 years or so to take the life force out of children. Getting to this revelation comes with a big trauma dump from Dean to add more fuel to the John is a bad dad fire. After using a child as bait for the witch to feed off of, the brothers figure out how to stop it. You'd think this means there's a happy ending, and like there is for the small town. But our brothers, they just continue to get more traumatized and don't talk about it.
Yep,
Mhm,
that's a very good synopsis.
I thought so. With that said, you can listen to us on all major podcast platforms and watch along on YouTube. And if you'd like to support the show, head on over to our Patreon at patreon.com/Winchester Archives Podcast. There are a ton of perks from our Discord community to digital art to bonus episodes.
Yeah, we are also on Instagram and TikTok at Winchester Archives Pod. Also, feel free to rate us on everything, subscribe, like, comment, all the fun things for all the algorithms because that's where we live now.
Mhm. True.
We are also just for the last time, we'll say this one more time at least, but our upload schedule is changing. We are doing Wednesdays instead of Mondays, so this probably have noticed that this episode has not gone out yet, and it will tomorrow. So now, with all that said and out of the way, Brooke, let's get us into the small details here.
Yes, because we like the small details. So we enter the episode by seeing a girl named Bethany praying before bed.
Mhm.
Chuck really threw it in there
Yep,
right
Chuck, yeah,
away.
Chuck being the Christian God, yeah, you gotta get that propaganda started early.
True. When her dad is tucking her into bed, he calls her monkey puss, and that's just weird.
Yeah, I heard that and I was like, "What? Who says that? Ever? Like, how is that ever what you call anyone, let alone your daughter?"
Yeah, I had to check the closed captioning to make sure that was
Like,
correct.
I was just like, "Who says that?" Like, how do you get there? How is that the nickname? That has to be more to this. Like, it has to be like someone what nickname as they were growing up or something, like in the
Mhm.
cast. Like, that has to be it because like
Yeah,
no one comes up with that as a nickname for anyone ever.
great. I don't know.
Yeah, I hated it.
Me too, and I'm glad
Never call people monkey puss.
we only hear it this one time.
Like, if anything, it sounds almost like an insult, not like a cute pet name.
True. He could have just
Like, it
stopped at
sounds like an
monkey.
insult. Yeah, monkey, I've heard people refer to as like a, affectionate way.
Mhm. That lingered with me the whole episode, though.
Same, it bothered the hell out of me too.
It shouldn't. It shouldn't be
Uh,
like that. All right. So then she asks him when mom is coming if mom is coming home, and he says no, she's staying the night at the hospital with her sister. And now we see Bethany just sitting up in her bed, creepy looking, and she's
Uh-huh.
just like looking around her room, and her sister's bed has like this bear just like ominously staring at her.
Yeah, of course it is. Staring directly at her. Like,
Yes. And now she's looking at the window and there's tree branches and they look like fingers. And then and then I was like, "Oh, wait, there are fingers." It
yeah,
wasn't
they
just
look like fingers. Now oh, wait, no, they are fingers. Yep,
yes.
100%.
And those fingers open the window, even though it was latched on the inside,
Mhm.
and it goes over to her bed. And I say, "Clearly, this is a witch." And she has some blue light in her mouth.
Yeah, it's real cool. It's a cool shot.
Mhm.
I really like the blue mouth thing. I don't know why, just like a cool look to it when it came to this. I was like, "Ooh, that's creepy."
Yeah, and it was, like, unique.
Yeah. Yeah, for once, it's not just a ghost,
Yeah, there
an
isn't a ghost.
angry ghost.
No. This is a witch just trying to live their life.
Yeah, yeah, it's a natural cycle of life. It's just prey getting some prey, you know?
Yeah. It's just trying to eat. But we frown upon eating children, so
Should go without saying, I guess, but I
mhm,
mean
yeah. So now we see the Impala driving down the road. Sam is saying he's checked everything and he couldn't find any red flags on the area. But Dean insists that Dad wouldn't have sent them coordinates if it wasn't important.
Hold on, I have something to say here too. It just
Mhm,
drives me insane. They just, like, an episode or 2 ago,
mhm,
met up with their dad and, like, reconciled, everything's great, they're talking again.
mhm.
Awesome. He randomly sends them coordinates with no context.
Yes.
Insane.
And Dean
Insane.
follows. Yes.
Like, I just can't believe he doesn't give any kind like, you coulda did that and then had the word, like, "witch" or anything, but no,
Nope.
just coordinates. Like, it's ridiculous. It's so ridiculous.
It is, and then also, like, how does John get these leads?
Yeah, especially when Sam literally looked at everything and was like, "Oh, nothing looks weird."
Yeah, like, is there another hunter that's telling him, and why aren't they telling Sam?
Yeah, it's insane. It drove me nuts. Like, again, there's a couple things in this episode that really drove me nuts, but
Same.
fine, we'll get to them. 'em. I'll rant about them when we get there. There's a couple more of them.
So after this point, Dean says maybe he'll meet us there, and then Sam just, like, laughs at him.
Which is again, you met him 2 days ago. If he was just gonna meet you here, you should have
Mhm.
stayed together.
Yes. It's like, we all know that's not gonna happen, including Dean.
Yeah, he's just trying to be optimistic, but I'm just like, "Come on. You can't even be optimistic about it, bro. Like, come on."
But, Dean does what he does, and he just, like, deflects. So
Yeah.
he's like, "I'm sure there's something there worth killing," and then he says, like, "I'm the oldest, which means I'm always right."
Mhm.
And Sam is like, "That's not true at all," and Dean is like, "It's totally true," and gives him, like, the side eye emoji look
Mhm.
and, like, just kind of
Yeah,
smiles.
and the smile. Yeah, the dean smile that he does to him of, like, where he knows he's being a little shit.
And it's cute because older
I love it.
siblings do that, like, pull rank, like,
Yeah.
"Well, I'm older, so oh well."
Yeah. I'm right.
And they have now entered Fitchburg, Wisconsin.
Fitchburg, Wisconsin.
And this is actually a real city, but it has a U instead of an E in Berg.
That's insane. Just,
Mhm.
how do you spell it wrong? How do you get the name right but spell it wrong? It's like one of those things where, like, the cursoriest of glances could have gotten you the information that you needed to, like, make that correct decision.
Yes, exactly.
Like a couple other things early in the season that we pointed out already.
So, we see Sam now, he's, like, resting against the car, and he's just, like, staring straight ahead, and it looks
Mhm.
really weird, and then Dean walks up to him and hands him, like, a cup of coffee and says, "The only thing in town people are saying is weird is the local Freemasons," which is valid.
Yeah, it's funny. I find that amusing.
And then Sam asks for the time, and it's 10 past 4, which means school is out, but the playground is empty, and that's what Sam is staring at. Well, he's staring at, like, the one child that is playing.
Mhm.
There's no other kids on the playground.
Yeah.
which they think is odd. But truly, when is the last time they even saw a playground that has kids?
Yeah, it's a really interesting thing. Like, I get the point. Also, like, earlier in 2000, I guess it would be, like, when people were outside more.
Hmm.
So it would make some sense, but it's also still like, that wouldn't be super nat like, how do you come up with the conclusion, "That's so strange, that might be it?"
Yeah, and, like, I need to see I didn't look up where we are in the timeline. I keep saying this and I keep forgetting, but, like, we have to be in, like, May now, maybe even June. Like, maybe are the kids even well, obviously,
I think
there's
it's, like,
the
April, right? Like, we just were in March. I thought, like, when we last started right, like, our
no,
last time in, I thought it was, like, March.
the
Our cat decided to
solstice,
come say hi.
the s the spring solstice was bugs, and that was, like, 10 episodes ago.
No,
So,
it's probably, like, May then, you know?
yeah, so maybe school is still in session. Obviously, it is because they talk about it, but
Mhm.
it has to be close to time for school being out, and, like,
Yeah.
they were wearing clothes like it was winter time. Just saying. Probably
I mean,
because
that's
in
Canada.
probably because
No, it's 'cause it's Wisconsin.
in real life, they probably did film this stuff in winter,
Yeah,
and as you said, they're in Canada.
yeah.
So
Technically, it makes sense, though, because Wisconsin's also freezing.
but not in the summer.
Anyway.
Anyway, Dean walks up to the mother of the one child, who is actually the receptionist in the Faith episode that we've already
Oh, neat.
seen. Mhm. And in season 9, she actually becomes a recurring character who is an angel named Hannah.
Wild.
So we see her again in 8 more seasons.
I love all the recurring characters.
Yes, too. Well, recurring actors
Mhm.
is she
Yeah,
is the different
yeah.
character.
That's what I meant, but yeah, I said character. Yeah.
Mhm. She tells Dean that kids keep getting serious, like so very seriously sick, like hospital stay sick. So no one is out there like all scared to go out and about. She says that only about 4 or 5 kids are in the hospital, but that's enough to be like, that's weird.
Yeah, it's a little concerning.
Mhm. So now we see them in suits walking into a hospital. And Sam tells Dean he is not using the ID because it says bikini inspector on it.
Valid criticism of the ID.
Yeah, you'd be like, I need a different one.
Yeah, any of the other fake IDs that we've used already would be great.
Dean
Like, just
said,
use the FBI one and just flash it that quick.
right? Dean says it doesn't matter. He just needs to have confidence. They're pretending to be doctors with disease control.
Mhm.
So she asks for ID, the receptionist does, and he just like flashes it. There's literally no way she even saw it. He's like, here, and then puts it back in his coat.
Yeah, literally like a second.
Mhm. But anyway, she thinks that's great, and she just sends him on his way to the pediatric area of the hospital.
I took it more as, like, she was, like, didn't want to be awkward in, like, the conversation and ask for it again.
Mhm. That makes more
So she
sense.
was more just like, "Okay, I guess it's that way.
True.
Weird." Like, she looked uncomfortable to me, like, the actor, like, playing
Mhm.
that, like, played it off like, "What?
She
Okay."
did. I'm just saying,
Which that's
like,
the way I looked at it.
she did seem awkward, but she still told him where to find the sick, dying children.
Yeah. There's people up there.
So on their way there, Dean stops and looks into this room, and there's old lady with blue glossy eyes, like cataracts galore on her eyeballs.
Mhm.
And there's an upside down cross,
Yep.
ominous.
Yep. It clearly is either one of 2 things. Either the villain is very horribly, like, just showing their hand right away, or
Mhm.
it's a red herring.
Yeah,
Or it's
exactly.
just a funny gag, I guess. But they don't usually do, like, random throwaway things like that.
Mhm. Yes, and her room is room number 237, which is from a callback to The Shining.
Whoop, whoop. Love the callback to The Shining.
Yes, The Shining, the movie specifically, 'cause in the book, it's 217.
Yeah.
But Sam, like, snaps Dean out of it, and now they're actually at, like, in the children place.
Mhm.
The doctor at the hospital says the kids aren't responding to antibiotics, and it seems like their bodies are just giving out, and they aren't conscious, so they can't be interviewed. But Dean has the idea to interview the parents.
But yeah, you gotta get something. something about this, some kind of information.
Mhm. So now we see them talking to the dad from the beginning. He says he has an older daughter, Mary, who is 13, and she got the disease first. And then Bethany got it the next night. And everybody says it's pneumonia caused by an open window. And he says he knows he shut the window before he put Bethany to bed. So she obviously got up in the middle of the night and opened it and went back to sleep.
Yeah. I mean, like, that's a reasonable assumption.
It is, but also, like, why would your kid do that? So now they're headed to that guy's house because Sam is like, well, he's going to be at the hospital all day.
Yeah. I mean, not wrong.
We got some breaking and entering. So now they're in Bethany and Mary's room looking for clues. Sam opens the window and says, Dean, you're right. It's not pneumonia because look at this hand on the windowsill.
And this thing is like a foot long, like, clawed hand mark, like, seared into the like, it
Hmm.
looked like seared, but I guess it was rotted in. But
Hmm.
either way, like, it's the most, like, ominous thing ever, and I'm like, "How did no one see this before now?"
Exactly. And they weirdly don't show it later in the episode.
Like, because presumably the dad, after, like, going and seeing his daughter like that, closed the window,
You would
right?
hope. Yeah.
Yeah, you go close the window, so you would've seen that burned into the windowsill
And been like, how long has that been there?
and being like, "What the hell is that?
Yes.
Get a scientist here. We have a fucking Bigfoot or something, like, climbing in windows.
Yeah,
We have a cryptid going on." Like,
exactly. Like, yeah, sure. At first, you might be like, oh, my kid, they're dumb and they opened up the window and now they're sick. And then you would go shut the window and you'd be like, wait a minute, there's a
and you can still
hand.
be like, "Hey, the kid's still dumb and got themselves sick," but, like, what the fuck is that?
So that's actually what Sam is asking. What the hell is this? And Dean is now having a flashback of a childhood memory. And John is here and actually played by Jeffrey Dean Morgan. So they got him for
Insane.
another episode.
For another 30 seconds.
Yeah. The flashback is Dean looking at a picture of the same exact handprint, but when he was a kid.
Dun, dun, dun.
And John says, like, John is leaving for a hunt and he's like, I'll be back in a few days. And he says if he calls, he'll ring once, hang up, and then call back.
Mhm.
And then he said if he's not back by Sunday night to call Pastor Jim. And it is Dean's responsibility to lock up everything and watch his brother. And then he says, shoot first, ask questions later.
And he
Which
also
really,
says, like, "Don't leave his side."
yeah.
Like, trying to emphasize, like, really don't leave him alone.
Hmm. The shoot first, ask questions later really just like explains a lot.
Yeah, I mean, that's their current mindset too. They kick the doors in first, shoot the bad things and be like, "Oh, what did we do?"
Well, usually Sam is a little more level headed.
Yeah, that's a Dean thing.
Now, back in present day, Dean says he knows why they're here. And he says it's because their dad has hunted this before and needs them to finish the job at like 20 years later.
Yeah, and again, with 0 context.
Yes.
Like, clearly he knew. Otherwise, like, if he didn't know, and this is just a weird coincidence then, if John didn't know and is like, "Hey, something weird is happening, go deal with the weird." But
Hmm.
if he had any context, you should just be like, "Hey, remember that thing that attacked you and Sam all those years ago? It's back."
Hmm.
Like,
Yeah. Like,
yeah,
just like you said, any kind of context would be great. So now we see them getting out of their car, like they drove away somewhere. And Sam says, what the hell is a how do you say
a
this word?
Striga.
Striga. And Dean says it's some kind of witch he thinks.
Correct. And we'll get to it here in a little bit once we learn a little bit more from Dean or from Sam, and I like a scene or 2.
Yeah.
But yes, it is some type of witch.
This is actually also where the episode gets its name. It's from Shakespeare's Macbeth. In
Mhm.
the play, a witch says the line, "By the pricking of my thumb, something wicked this way comes."
Yeah, it's a very common
Mhm.
phrase that's used in a lot of pop culture to reference witches.
And Sam is now badgering Dean about this because he's like, "Our dad bought this like 17 years ago in the
Mhm.
same area, but it got away."
Yeah.
And Sam is just, like, not buying it. He's like,
Mhm.
"Dad doesn't do that." Like,
Yeah.
"What?"
Yeah, he
And
gets hyper focused on it and, like, ruins your childhood for it.
yeah.
He
And
doesn't just give up.
and then Dean's like, "I don't know, I was a kid, I don't remember."
Mhm. Sure,
That's
sure.
exactly what Sam is thinking.
Uh-huh.
So now Dean walks into the motel because they were driving to the motel. Earlier,
Right.
I said, like, wherever they were going. They were going to this motel.
Mhm.
And the kid at the counter says, "King or 2 queens?" Because it is a kid at the counter.
Uh-huh.
And Dean says, "2 queens." And then the
Like,
kid,
again, like 8 maybe.
"What?"
Like 8 years old or
Yeah.
something too, like, he's, like, young.
And Dean says, "2 queens." And the kid looks at Sam outside through the window and says, "Yeah, I bet."
I love these jokes that, they keep happening because I also because because Dean the response every time is just a look of just, like, confusion and, like, offense at the same time. I'm just like, "What?
Yes.
Like, why are you assuming that?"
He's
And
like
it's just funny.
he's like, "We're brothers, don't we look alike?" "No, you
But
don't."
no, no, you don't. But it's, hilarious to me because it's just, like, keeps happening every
Mhm.
once in a while, and it's just so funny to me. It just gives me a good chuckle every time.
Out of context, if you don't know they're brothers and they're just 2 grown men who travel
Yeah.
together and they never leave each other's side and they will do anything to keep each other alive,
Mhm.
they love each other a lot.
Yeah,
In this way, it is familial love,
yeah. But it's
but
just funny that it keeps happening.
out of context, it could be romantic.
Mm.
Not if they were brothers.
Okay, we're
Okay.
diverting way off topic.
I had to clarify.
But yeah, I thought that was up, but I mean, maybe not.
Yeah, I
Hey,
don't know.
it's fine. We over explain here. It's like the whole point of the podcast,
Yeah, we'll see. Maybe that'll get cut out.
or it'll stay in forever.
So, yeah, after the kid says, "Yeah, I bet," Dean is like, "What'd you say?" And then he's like, "I said you had a nice car." Or he's like, "Yeah, nice
Yeah,
car," or something.
yeah.
And then the mom of this kid walked in and asked him to get his brother some food. And now Dean is thinking about his childhood and has another flashback of when their dad was gone, and he's making Sam dinner, and Sam is being difficult because he's, like, 4, and he wants Lucky Charms. But
Mhm.
Dean says there's only enough left for 1 bowl, and he hasn't had to have any yet,
Yeah,
but he gives it to Sam anyway, and that's their relationship. So people have a gripe with this scene because Dean made Sam SpaghettiOs, and when Sam doesn't want the SpaghettiOs, he throws it away instead of eating the SpaghettiOs, and he gives Sam the Lucky Charms. Like, "Why would you do that?"
yeah, it's insane.
Yeah.
It's not how you would ever behave there.
No.
You just shoulda just made him, like, push the bowl over to his side of, like, his chair.
Yes, and then the Lucky Charms box wasn't even hidden from the
Yeah,
toddler.
yeah. It's like, he could see it on the counter.
Mhm. If you were saving it for yourself, you should have hid it somewhere.
And then the next scene, basically, they're in the motel, and they're basically figuring out what they found about the Strigas, and Sam goes into a bunch of stuff about lore about these things. And he says that they're Albanian vampire witches, basically, that,
Mhm.
go around and suck out the, what was it? Spiritus Vitae out of people, and mostly kids, which essentially translates from Latin to meaning breath of life, or, like, basically the soul. It'll
Mhm.
sucks out, like, the life essence of the children who feed itself. He also says that they're invulnerable to everything always, which is unlucky. Um, but eventually Dean corrects him on that. But his initial research comes up with that they're invincible,
Mhm.
which sucks. But fun fact, they were right on most of it. The Strigas are actually Albanian vampiric witches that suck the blood out of infants at night, and then usually transform into like some kind of bug to escape.
Which is just rude.
Yeah, it's very rude, especially the turning into a bug to escape. You're not even
Yeah.
giving people a chance to see you.
No.
Which I think is fascinating too, just because that could just be like an explanation for like a mosquito or like some other like blood sucking thing going in and like killing your kid,
Mm.
or like, sucking its blood because that's what mosquitoes do, you
Mhm.
know. But yeah, I found that really interesting. Also in the mythology, the Strigas were the only thing that could break the spell, the hold on the infants that they drained. In the mythology, it's by spitting in their mouth, which is gross. presumably spitting, like, the blood back in
Ew.
or something. I'm not sure, but, like, I presume. But, yeah, it's the only thing that can save the kid, which works for this too in the episode. The only thing that could save the kid was killing the Striga. Also, Strigas, when they feed off of a child, they go into, like, almost a sickness and usually die from it
Hmm.
unless they are cured by the Striga, which, again, is similar to the episode. So they did some of their homework here. It tends to also look like a decrepit old woman with, like, blue or glowing eyes and, like, a mouth,
Mhm.
which they do in this episode, which is really cool. The Strigas also tends to be wearing, like, a cape and has a very, like, disfigured looking face, which, again, they did with this episode as well. The Striga
Mhm.
looks like that, and wears, like, the cloak. He also mentions that they have stories of Strigas going all the way back to Rome. I didn't find anything specifically about about that in particular, but Romans did have Strigas, which
Hmm.
are come from the Striga, the Albanian word comes from the Latin word Striga, which
Oh.
also means witch. So they also had stories of Strigas and like witches, and they tend to be a very similar description of these things. But there wasn't like any like specific, like like you can easily see the correlation like that. Like, oh,
Mhm.
this myth comes from this. It doesn't. Like, not that I can tell. But yeah, it was very, very, very close to accurate. The only interesting thing, because I keep going on, I'm just gonna move on to the next part of this scene because it goes right into my next part of my notes.
Mhm.
But basically, Sam says they're invincible to all weapons, but Dean cuts him off and says, "No, not true at all. They're vulnerable to wrought iron when they're feeding,"
Hmm.
which is not, according to the folklore, not true. They are vulnerable whenever. And also wrought iron doesn't do anything. But like as we've said in many other episodes before, they tend to use like the whole purifying nature of like iron and like
Mhm.
fire to work on anything supernatural as like kind of a blanket. In the folklore, the only way to kill them, according to like Catholic legend, is by using holy water with a cross on it, which go figure, as Catholics do.
Mhm.
And if in Islamic countries, you basically recite some verses out of the Quran and spit water on it, which it tends to be much easier than, shooting it while it's feeding.
Yeah, for
But it
sure.
adds to the drama when it's only a certain time frame. But
Yeah, it
but
does.
yes, they did a very good job of making it fairly accurate to what it is.
Yeah, it definitely adds the drama because then you're like, "Oh, so who is it gonna feed on while I kill it?"
Yeah. Now we gotta figure out how to do this
Yes.
and the right timing and all that.
Also, in this scene, I just really need to point out Sam has the weirdest shirt on I've ever seen in my whole life. It's, like, purple, and then right in the middle of it, there's, like, a greyhound dog, and I'm like, "What are you where did you get that? Why are you wearing that?"
Yeah, that's a weird choice.
It is. After Dean, like, explains all of this, like, how to kill it, Sam is like, "What else did dad say?"
Yeah, like, what else is going on here? Like, you're leaving a lot out, like, clearly.
Yeah, and Dean says, "Nothing," again, and Sam is not buying it.
Good, he shouldn't. It's very obvious.
But Dean deflects again, and he pulls out a map, and all of the houses that have been hit all surround the hospital.
Convenient.
And then Dean mentions the old lady he saw in the hospital because he's like, "There's an old lady." And Sam is like, "Oh, an old person in a hospital? Call the Coast Guard."
Yeah.
Like, that's that's weird. Why would you call the Coast Guard?
Yeah, that I've heard that phrase before, but it's been a long time. So it was just like a thing in the early 2000s to say. But
Oh,
I'm not sure because I'm like I also thought that was like I'm like who says that? Like call the Coast Guard. Like that seems like so old, like outdated, even for
yes,
like this show.
it does.
But yeah, I thought this was hilarious though because he immediately just like an old person in the hospital. It's like, well, yes, but also, and then
Yeah.
he like literally continues on and like corrects them and gives them a look like
Mhm.
so funny.
Yes. Yeah, because yeah, as you said, Dean calls him a smartass and explains she had an inverted cross on her wall, which, obviously means she's up to no good, and this must
Yeah,
be the witch.
Satanists have used that for centuries.
Mhm. True, he did say that last episode. So they find her room, and as Sam starts okay, well, first of all, I didn't write this down, but I feel like it's important, where they walk into the hospital, and all of the, like, nurses, receptionists, etcetera, are saying goodbye to the doctor that we saw earlier. That was, like, the hide back. doctor. I don't I don't remember his name.
Heidecker.
Decker, yes. So they're all saying bye to him. So it's nighttime.
Uh-huh.
So they get to her room very quickly. Nobody stops them. And when Sam goes to open the door, Dean just takes out his gun and makes sure it's like ready to go.
Shoot first, ask questions later.
Yeah. And then once they're in, Sam shuts the door and takes his gun out too.
Or shoot first, ask questions later.
And then the lady is just sitting there looking out the window. Kinda. I say kinda because I already told y'all she had cataracts.
Some crazy, like they were like almost glowing blue.
Yes. And Dean gets like right in her face, like nose to nose. And then she
Pretty close.
says, "Who are you?"
Uh-huh.
And the music spikes. So it's like a big jump scare.
Yeah.
And Dean like lies against the wall. And then Sam says they're maintenance and they didn't mean to scare her and they thought she would be asleep. And if they,
Mhm.
like if you thought someone's asleep, why would maintenance be there?
She was sleeping with her peepers open though.
Yes, she did say that. She said she sleeps with her peepers open. And and then she says like while she's here, they need to fix the cross because she's asked 4 times to get it fixed and no one has fixed it.
Uh-huh.
And Dean touches the top of it ever so slightly with his finger and it falls down.
Yeah.
So how'd it get inverted?
Yeah. It's this is, like, so fucked up in context. You're thinking of this, you're like, right, they just watched the doctor leave, the nurse are, like, button up for leave, like, we're winding down for nighttime shift. Everyone's
Mhm,
kinda sleeping, right? Um, so the context of this cross, which clearly had to be inverted by someone, that's the only way this cross with the nail where it is, like, right in the center, would
mhm,
be upside down, is either something supernatural, which we've kind of shown not really happening right now, and
mhm,
also if someone was fucking with her. So someone that works there or, like, a guest is fucking with her, and then she's requested for it to be moved down 4 times, and she all it took was a little touch, meaning they've refused 4 times to just flick the thing, which
mhm,
is insane. That is so much neglect, and also this lady's just in a wheelchair, and that night, they
mhm.
just left her there,
No one put her to bed.
and she didn't move from where she was earlier, so she clearly cannot move herself,
Mhm.
so they just left her there, and it's like, what kinda neglectful ass hospital is this?
They did shut her door though.
Which it's even worse, like, "Okay, we're gonna shut this so we don't look at you anymore in your
Good
fucking
night.
inverted cross that we refuse to flip for you." It's
Like
insane.
obviously
Insane.
like, I could see, like, one person maybe that she didn't ask being like, "Oh, maybe she likes the cross that way." But then the second somebody's like, "No, she's asked for us to change it." Like, "Oh, okay,
You didn't go change it?
just go, fix it." Or, like, if you're kind of concerned about it and you're, like, helping her get into bed, which obviously no one's doing, but if they did, they could be like,
Clearly
"Hey,"
not.
they could be like, "Hey, did you want that
Like
way?"
that? Yeah. And she'll say no, and you fucking flip
Or,
it
like
like Dean did.
when you feed her, they gotta be feeding her right.
I don't believe so anymore. I think they forgot about her. They forgot she was
Right?
there.
Oh, no. She's just a
Like,
plot device that we're thinking so hard about, but it's bad.
but it's true though. Like, if you think about it for like 2 seconds, you're like, "Wait a second."
Yeah. Like, this is a bad hospital.
Yes.
Now we see the motel kid, the little kid in bed, and the creepy hand is opening the window. And then Sam is laughing at Dean, which it's daylight out now. I don't know how long they were at the hospital. It was a long time. 'Cause it goes from seeing the creepy hand them at the hospital, seeing the creepy hand, and then they're back at the motel and it's daytime.
Maybe he's just making fun of them the next morning.
But they're going into their motel room. Maybe he was still laughing at him all night and then into the morning.
Who knows?
But yeah, he was laughing at Dean for getting scared by the old lady. And then Dean sees the older kid who accused them of being the 2 queens looking
Uh-huh.
all, like, mopey outside. So Dean goes up to him and asks him what's wrong, and we find out that his brother is now sick with pneumonia. Dean and this kid have very similar lives.
Oh, yeah. He's
So
beating
Dean
himself up for it too.
yes, he is. And
Like, "If
he's
I woulda closed the window, he would not be sick."
yeah, he tells Dean it's his fault for not protecting his brother, and Dean says it's not, and he tells the kid to give his mom a break, and now like, 'cause the mom comes out and she's all, like, rushing and stuff, and the kid is like, "Mom, I wanna go with you," and she's like, "No, you can't, not right now," and then Dean
"We
is
need you to
like,
run the hotel?"
"Yeah."
The motel, I guess?
Well, she said to have it closed. Like, she's like,
Yeah.
"Hey, it's closed." But then Dean is like, "Hey, you shouldn't be driving right now. I can drive you." And then she's like, "Okay, thanks."
Which who in their right mi like, these 2 random dudes in jackets just, like,
In
show up to your
jackets?
motel, like, in leather jackets,
Yeah,
right? Like, just show up to a motel, you know?
in a small
Already, like
town.
yeah, so already not great, and are just, like, talking to your child,
Mhm,
and then when you come out and are freaking out, and then one of them's like, "I'll give you a ride," and then you leave the other one alone with the other dude,
mhm.
and you say, "Yes?"
Yeah, she
What
did.
do you mean you say yes? That's insane. Who does that?
Well, she obviously already doesn't have any issues just leaving her child to run a business alone.
But still, it's all insane.
It is. It is. I don't like any of it. So now Sam is researching the witch and he's on the phone with Dean. And he says about every 15 years, it moves on to another town. And it's just now getting started in this one.
Uh-huh.
And when Sam is listing out the towns, he says it's been to Brockway, Ogdenville, and North Paperbrook, which is a Simpsons reference from the
Oh, fun.
episode Marge versus the Monorail.
Cool. I don't know if I know the context of the episode, but I like references, so that's fun.
I don't know the full thing. I just know the snippet that was on the wiki, and it was like there's a monorail crash, and like Marge yells out the city she's going past or
Mm.
something.
Oh, okay. That's fun.
Yeah. And then Sam pulls up a picture of a kid in a hospital bed surrounded by doctors. And the doctor from the beginning, Dr. Heidecker, is in that photo. And Dean is like, okay. And Sam was like, it's from 1893.
So dude's like 100 and some years old.
That or he looks a lot like a relative.
Yeah, or he has relatives that are also doctors.
But Dean is in the room with this guy and he's looking around like he's about to do something very
Mhm,
impulsive. When I saw his face, I was like, oh no.
mhm.
But thankfully, Dean keeps it together, but he is so mad. He goes back to the room and Sam is wearing his weird shirt again. Like he should just keep the jacket on. Okay, but at least the showrunners get point for consistency.
Yeah.
And even Sam says he's surprised Dean didn't do anything there.
Mhm.
And Dean gives us 3 reasons why he didn't. He says, 1, he doesn't wanna shoot up a kid's unit.
Yeah. Valid.
Valid. 2, he says the witch is invincible unless it's eating.
Yeah.
And 3, he says he wasn't he says, "I wasn't packing." And
Mhm.
he says it's a good thing because he would have just emptied a clip on him out of principle. He would have. That's what I
Yeah.
said. He had the look. And Sam says, "You're getting wise in your old age." And Dean says, "Damn right."
I
And
love it.
and he's like, "29."
Yeah. He's young as hell.
Then Dean says he knows how they're going to get it because it works through siblings. So tonight it'll come after Michael. So Dean wants to use the kid as bait, which Sam is like, "No, this is not happening." But Dean is saying they can't leave until it's dead because it's his fault specifically. Their
Mhm.
dad didn't kill it to begin with.
Mhm.
And Sam
Taking
is
a
like
lot of that blame.
and then Sam is like, "What? You said there was nothing else." So
Mhm.
now Dean is actually answering, and we see it through another flashback. When Sam was sleeping, this is when they were little, Dean left the room to get some air because he had been with this little kid for a whole weekend or whatever.
Mhm.
So he's playing an arcade game. It's still in the motel, like, lobby or something.
Yeah.
He's, playing the arcade game until closing. He gets back to the room and he sees the light on in Sam's room with the door partially shut. So he opens it to see a witch over top of Sam. So he grabs the gun, and when he cocks it, the witch notices. And then, like, out of nowhere, John comes up behind him. Like, it starts shooting at it,
Yeah.
but he misses. And we kinda see John being a loving dad here for, like, a second because he runs over to Sam and is, like, hugging him and comforting him, but then that
Yeah.
but then that lovingness goes away because he immediately starts blaming Dean, and it's like,
Yeah.
"I told you not to leave him."
Which is insane because,
Yes.
like, this whole thing, again, John is the worst parent imaginable. It's insane how
Mhm.
bad he is because, like, he's like, "Hey, I'll be gone for a few days. You're the adult for your child brother
When they're all
talking to an 8-year-old child." You know, like, it's totally unfair. So then he walks out of the room to go play a game for a bit, and then comes back. It doesn't matter. 1, the thing just got there, and we've proven already the thing can just open windows at will, even when
Mhm.
they're locked from the inside. So, like, irrelevant. If Dean was there, what woulda happened? He woulda showed up, or he woulda been there doing the same exact thing at the exact same time,
Mhm.
because there was no issue until then. Hell, if anything, he might not have checked on it
Yeah,
if he was there.
probably not.
And also, dumbass coming in trying to be all dad after, like, you said, "I'll be gone for a few days," and come busting in and shooting your gun like that, and
Mhm.
being like, "Oh, it's your fault because you left to the 8-year-old?" It's insane.
Mhm.
Absolutely insane.
It is. And I know okay, I wanna say real quick that I know, we've been saying their ages and they're kind of all over the place. In real time life, in this timeline, Dean would be, like, 27 and Sam would be 23. That's assuming their birthdays have passed, because they were
Mhm.
22 and 26 at the beginning. And this happened 17 years ago. Dean would be 9 and Sam would be 5.
Still, okay.
But
9 and 5 then.
it's still it's too young.
Yeah, it's still ridiculous, and it's just like him going and comforting Sam, I get, that's good. But him
Mhm.
immediately being super cold and being like, "It's your fault, Dean. How dare you leave? I told you not to leave." Like, dude,
Mhm.
why did you leave, you dumbass? You
Exactly.
hunt demons and ghosts and monsters, and you're leaving your kids alone in a motel and just hoping shit doesn't go down?
Mhm.
Like, it's insane. Absolutely insane.
Especially when you're chasing after something that hunts children. Like,
Mhm,
when when this scene first came around, I thought we were going to see that John used his own kids as bait, because I didn't put it
mhm,
past him to do that,
mhm.
and that's why I figured that's how, like, Dean got the idea to use Michael as bait. And then I'm like, maybe Dean blamed himself because he stopped it 'cause his dad didn't tell him they were the bait. So he was like, "Oh my god, it's after my brother," and, like, something went wrong. But no, John didn't even do that much. He,
Yeah.
like, just left them knowing something would be coming after kids. So after that, John took them to Pastor Jim's and then went back out. And
Mhm.
it's like, why didn't they just stay with Pastor Jim in the first place?
Exactly.
Why didn't Pastor Jim adopt them? Because John wasn't taking care of them
Or Uncle Bobby.
or
He
Bobby.
does anyway in, like, a season.
Yeah. Exactly. But the witch hasn't resurfaced until now, and Dean says their dad never brought it up again, but he's never looked at him the same.
Which is so sad.
It is. And I do wanna say also, some people I saw online talking about this think this episode is titled that after Macbeth because in the play the witch says their line, something wicked, to Macbeth during his, like, praise for power and how he'll sacrifice anything to complete his goals. So they're basically saying that's what Dean is doing here with Michael, and that's what John did with his kids.
Mm. I don't know how much
Um,
I agree with that just because, like, the whole using Michael as bait thing,
mhm,
I understand. That would be what I would suggest too, and then I'd bring it up to kid, see what the kid thought. Exactly what they did.
mhm,
Because, like, that is their only chance to stop this thing from killing all these kids.
yeah,
That is. That's the only answer. Like, it sucks, but
'cause even if you relocate all the kids, it's gonna just go to another town.
exactly, you're just letting other people like, this is the only way to stop them.
Yeah, I agree. I don't necessarily agree with that, but I think it was, like, a nice,
Yeah.
um, thought
Mhm.
anyway. So, I'm gonna just say this is why Dean is an emotionally unavailable adult. This is everything he had to do was just too much for, like, an 8/9-year-old to handle.
100%.
But now we see them talking to Michael about it. Michael said he thought it was a nightmare, and Dean tells him that some nightmares are real and they need his help catching it.
Yeah.
Michael is obviously scared and says no, but later Michael comes back to their room asking if the witch is if the witch is killed if his brother will get better. Dean says they're not sure, but Michael still changes his mind and he wants to help because he'll do anything for his brother.
No.
I know, it's so cute and tragic.
Yeah.
So now we see Dean setting up a camera with Michael in bed and Sam seeing it on a laptop.
Mhm.
Dean is telling Michael that he and Sam will be in the next room with their guns, and as soon as he sees them, to get under the bed.
Mhm.
Michael says, "What if you shoot me?" Valid
Yeah.
question. The dean says they won't fire until he is under the bed, and he says he promises they won't let anything happen to him, which is a big promise to make in this situation.
Mhm. Yeah. I was thinking the same thing, like, that's a bold promise, but
Yes.
I don't blame you for making it.
Yeah. And back in their little room where Sam and Dean just are, Sam says he's sorry for giving Dean a lot of crap about following dad's orders, but he understands why. To which Dean says, "Oh God, kill me now." And
Mhm.
then I said, "Be careful, Dean. This
Yeah.
is God writing the story." So he might.
Yeah. You might be like, "Ooh, that's an interesting idea, and maybe I'll bring you back 5 times."
So now we see the creepy hand opening the window and they're getting their guns ready. The figure is in the room going over to Michael. Sam is being very impatient. He's like, "It's time to go now." And Dean's like, "No,
Mhm.
we got to wait till it's feeding."
Mhm.
So then they come out and Dean actually says out loud to Michael to get down. And then they
Mhm.
start blasting at the
Yep.
witch. And it's laying on the floor, presumed dead. But
Mhm.
it's not. It gets back up and throws Dean across the room and Sam, and now it's on top of Sam, getting his life force, even though he's an adult now, which is
Yeah.
interesting.
Well, they said earlier the spiritus vitae, is stronger when you're a kid because you
Mhm,
have more life force, because you have more energy, you're more you're younger.
mhm,
Then when you're older, you have less. So, like, they still can eat it, it's just
mhm, mhm.
less than kids.
Yeah, that makes sense. And now Dean gets a kill shot when it's, trying to kill his brother. And this was so cute. He says, "You okay, little brother?"
I thought it was such a
Oh,
contrived line, though.
I
Like,
know.
no one would say that,
No, but I think it's
but
because
it's
he was
cute.
just, like, thinking about it and,
I know.
like, Michael and his brother and stuff.
I know. It's cute, but it's like it's still like part of me is like, no one would say that there.
They wouldn't.
You just say, "Are you okay?"
Yeah, and once the monster face fades, Dean shoots it like 10 more times. Like, he
Oh, yeah.
empties his rounds on it.
You unload a clip in it out of pure principle.
Yeah, true, I didn't even put that together, that's true.
He followed up.
And then it just melts away and the floor is burning. It's a wicked witch of the east.
Yeah. Not melting, but burning, turning to ash.
So then the mom comes back home and tells them and Michael that Asher is getting better, and no one knows why, but all of them are better, and they're about to
Yeah.
check out of the hospital. Which
Yeah, it
is
was
great
great news.
news. As she and Michael leave, Sam tells Dean he feels bad for Michael, and he said he feels bad knowing Michael will never be the same again, knowing all of this stuff is out there.
Mhm.
And Sam says he wishes he could have the innocence of not knowing,
Yeah.
which is really what both of them deserved. But then, sadly, Dean says, "If it means anything, I wish you could too."
That one broke me. That one was really just like, oh, my heart.
And, like, Dean doesn't wish it for himself. Like, he didn't say, "Me too." He's like,
Because he's protecting Sa he's like, he wants it for Sam, and he's like,
"Yes."
"I will take the burden," you know?
Mhm.
So you couldn't. You're like, that's so cute and sad, and I
I
love
know.
it.
And that's how the episode ends.
Yes,
We get left on that.
yes. Very good. It was a very good episode. It was very sad and emotional,
Mhm.
but it was still pretty good overall, I thought.
Yeah, it is for sure. So now onto our crime counter. There's 2. So impersonating the CDC is 5 years.
Whoa, whoa, 5 years?
Yes.
Isn't like an FBI impersonation like a year?
Yes.
5 CDC person specifically?
Yes.
That's crazy.
It is. I don't know. That's just
I guess that's how you prevent, like, pandemics from happening,
yeah,
like, people going into labs that they shouldn't be in.
true. Very true. And the next one, breaking and entering without stealing or assault would probably be like 9 months. This one varies, but, like,
Yeah,
that's about middle ground.
makes sense. Yeah, that seems more reasonable, even though 9 months feels kinda long for going into somewhere that you shouldn't be and not doing anything and then leaving.
Yeah.
But,
So, episode ratings for story and pacing, we both gave it a 4.
yeah, I
Yeah.
thought it was a very good plot. It was fun to see. The flashback worked,
Mhm.
I thought, for, like, getting across what they wanted to get across, and, like, the fact that it was, like, a recurring thing from all that time ago is really fun. So I overall thought it was good, and I like again, one criticism I have of previous episodes a lot, they're getting a lot better at, of, like, the
Mhm.
climactic fight at the end being a little bit more both sides going back and forth. Like, this one of them, like, "Oh, we got it," and then, "Psych, nope," and then, "Oh, we
Yeah.
really got it." Like, cool. I like that. It was nice.
Yes, exactly. I agree with you there. They're getting much better at pacing out the story.
And the parallel, story between, like, Michael and what's going on with the thing and Sam and Dean is, like, really cool too, I thought.
Yes, it is. I like that a lot too. It made the flashbacks make sense.
Yeah, it made them actually, like, in context make more sense other than just trauma dumping.
Yes. The monster lore, we both gave it a 4. Like, it's pretty well explained in the show, and it matches somewhat to real life.
Yeah, that's exactly what my thought process too. They explain it very well in the show. You could follow along, you understand what's happening, you understand the rules of, like,
Mhm.
how it worked, why it whatever. And then it was very accurate for the most part. I gave it docked at a point because, like, yeah, like, it's not like, not all the way accurate, but
Mhm.
pretty good.
For character development, we changed it up. I gave it a 3.
I give it a 4.
Yeah, I gave it a 3 because, like, so while we do see the flashbacks, this isn't new information. We know John was a bad parent. We know John left them for days on end, and Dean doesn't really grow from this experience. He still thinks it was his fault. So, it's just
Mhm.
while it was
That's
good
fair.
storytelling, there wasn't really character development.
Yeah, that's very valid. My reason I gave it such a higher one was because of the same kind of thing where it's like is rehashing it, but it's also like giving us a lot more context to it, which I like. Of just
Mhm.
showing like how much he means to him and how much they would do anything for each other. It really just like they've already established these things and how much they love each other, they're bonded. He's like
Mhm.
basically his parent, all the fun things. They kind of already went over them, but like it really adds a layer of extra context, I think.
Mhm.
Especially seeing like a monster attack Sam like that,
Mhm.
and that makes it to where it's like even worse now that other things are like, it's like
Mhm.
it, like, adds another layer of why he gets so freaked out when Sam's in danger,
Yes.
which I liked, and I thought it was pretty cool, and, like, the fact that Dean and Sam are having these more touching moments kinda towards the end and stuff, I gave it a little extra boost,
Mhm.
but I could totally get your point too. It is, like, the same drama that we're learning
Yeah.
about.
Yeah, this definitely isn't the first time that Sam has brought up that he wished he didn't have this life and, like,
Mhm.
so on and so on. Visuals and directions, we both gave it a 3. The direction and, like, photography was, like, okay. Like, it was just a normal TV
Yeah.
show. Nothing really stood out.
Nothing was crazy. The only thing I liked at all, like, from, like, that perspective was, like, I liked the glowy mouth bit, thought that
Mm.
was cool, but,
Mhm.
like, eh. There was nothing
And
that I was like, "Wow, that's a cool shot," or like, wow, that's a cool scenery or something, you know?
Yeah. And when you see the tree branches in the windows, it didn't really look real.
No, it looks not great.
Like, there wasn't, like, actual wind. It was just kind of, like, hitting the window a lot.
Yeah,
And, like, yeah, you could tell it was a prop.
yeah.
Emotional impact, we differ here. I gave it a 4.
I give it a 5. I give it all 5. The main reason for that was just, like, it tugged on my heartstrings a lot. It also could be that I'm an older brother as well.
Mhm.
So it was I could resonate a lot with a lot of these mindsets, a lot of the things that were happening. And it really struck me a lot. Like, it got me good, especially, like, the ending line. Like, it really was just like, "Oh, gut punch." So I was like, "Alright,
Mhm.
you've earned the 5 on this one for me." It's very sad to me specifically, like, it hit all the right nerves for me.
Yeah, it did leave me emotional, especially that part at the end.
Yeah.
I don't know, it didn't take me over the edge, though.
Yeah, for sure.
For rewatchability, we both gave it a 3. Just
Mhm.
your standard, sure, we'd watch it if it's on.
Yeah, it's not one especially because it is so sad, not one I really wanna go out of my way to watch because I don't like being sad a
Mm.
lot, you know?
Mhm.
It's one of those things where it's like, if I'm in the mood to feel sad, sure. Or if, like, it's randomly on TV, sure. But, like, I'm
Mhm.
not gonna go out of my way for this episode. It's not that good that I'd be like, "Oh, I need to rewatch this tomorrow."
Yeah, for sure. Salt and Sass, we differ here too. I gave it a 4.
I gave it a 3.
Yeah, I liked the funny bits a lot. Like, if there was just a lot of funny banter here.
Yeah, I agree completely. There's a lot of fun banter, the whole red herring with the old lady was fun.
Mhm.
The cross thing was funny. It's just one of those things where, like, this one was kinda just normal. There was a normal amount of funny jokes and funny lines, but, like,
Mhm.
nothing that was like, "Man, that's amazing."
Yeah. No, I totally get that. That made my average score 3.57 out of 5.
And I thought it was a little bit better at 3.71, so our combined is 3.64. Let us
Mm,
know in the comments if you agree, if you disagree, what you think, what you rated the episode. I would really love to see some of those.
me too.
Any other thoughts on Something Wicked before we get, out of here today?
Nope.
Alrighty then. That brings us to the end of season 1, episode 18, Something Wicked. Thank you for joining us this week as we stopped a child soul-sucking witch. Next week, we are investigating a murderous painting. So whenever you're ready, see you in the archives. Goodbye.
Bye.